What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter. And today we're going to talk about a couple of interesting things and opportunities. Number one, an affordable $150,000 priced resale with $490,000 in sales. We're going to talk about Wendy's. You guys ever wonder about Wendy's, how much money they make? How much they cost to get open, what are the franchise fees that they charge. We're going to dive into Wendy's, and we're going to talk about a couple of other topics here on today's newsletter. And we did move this. Today's Tuesday that we're doing this. We usually do this on Mondays, and I apologize. We had it. We had the announcement scheduled and put out for Monday, but it was a holiday, and we were closed. So we're doing it now. And I'm going to speed through this one today. Mark had a client meeting, so Mark won't be joining us today on this one. But let's talk about this resale. So as we have covered before, a lot of these resales now, we're getting requests from the franchisors and the owners to keep the details confidential and only share it to individuals that have privately inquired. So this specific resale is in the Dallas, Texas market and area. It is a service business, and it started in 2021. There are currently 4 employees that are in place in this business. It's got an asking price of $150,000. There are $200,000 of vehicles still being paid off that are included in the sales price. So you would assume those debt payments on those vehicles as a part of buying the business. And they have $490,000 in revenue that is reported from the franchisee. And I just realized I forgot to play something. So let's do this. All right. So that's the resale. All right. And again, it's a service-based business. It's in the Dallas, Texas market. We can share the brand and location and the specifics to you if you're interested in this specific opportunity. And the way you can let us know if you are, excuse me, is to go to franchiseempire.com/resales. And then there's a part in that when you fill out the form to schedule a call with our team. We'll say, hey, what franchise are you interested in? Just say, hey, I saw the one in Dallas, Texas from the newsletter. And then our team will know what that is. What's our take on this? Overall, it's a solid opportunity to take over a business with a team in place that's already producing revenue and a growth opportunity for a hands-on operator. So business like this, and generally resales in particular, you want to be walking in as a full-time owner in the beginning. Full-time, hands-on. If after the first 12 to 18 months of learning the insides of the business, working it daily, and putting in a full-time effort, you want to put a manager in place, then sounds like a great idea. If that's the path you want to do, go. But doing that from the beginning, I don't believe is a good idea. Yeah, you need to learn the business, know the business inside and out in order to properly lead your manager and give the business the time and attention it needs. But we also have, by the way, if you're not in Dallas, Texas, if you're in another market and you're thinking, hey, I'm interested in a franchise resale, I'm curious to know if there are any available in my area. Then we have a list of over 100 resales in our inventory, and we're getting access to more and more every single day, by the way. We're actually working on a dedicated list that we'll send out of resales weekly, which is going to be pretty cool, I think. But we have them throughout the U.S. and Canada. So if you're interested in finding out if there is one available in your specific area, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales. Our team can check for you completely free. If we don't have anything available, we'll be able to put you on a follow-up list. We'll be able to periodically check and reach out to you if something does become available that is either in your area or meets your desired criteria. All right, let's celebrate a new franchise owner. So every week we just love to share stories of our clients that have now become owners, gone from earners to owners, and just achieved a milestone of becoming a franchisee. Because at the end of the day, this is why we do this newsletter. This is why we're in business, is to help individuals like you find and own money-making franchises. That's the reason why we do this. So Dusty had built his career in executive recruiting within the healthcare industry, and it was a role that demanded strong business instincts, leadership, and the ability to connect people with the right opportunities. But over time, Dusty felt the pull towards something more and the chance to build a business of his own and create a legacy for the future. Maybe that's something that you can relate to, where you've done well in your career, you've been successful, but you're just feeling the tug to build something of your own, and you feel like it's time to do that. So, armed with his MBA and a strong foundation in business operations, Dusty began exploring what the next chapter would look like. That's when he reached out to us at Franchise Empire because he didn't want to have to keep Googling around, searching for franchises or guessing. And so our team was able to help provide him a custom list of franchises based on his experience, his skill sets, his financial situation, and the criteria that we helped him craft. And then we were able to help him acquire a service-based franchise opportunity. He's the proud owner now of 2 territories in the St. Louis market. And, this wasn't about just a career change, really about stepping into, ownership and creating a new chapter of his life. So congrats, Dusty. We're super excited for you. And excited to see your success that is soon to come in the future. All right. With that said, let's move on to franchise of the week. I didn't put any water next to me. I'm parched. We're gonna have to push through. All right, our franchise of the week is Wendy's. You guys ever look at Wendy's and wonder how much they cost, how much money they make, how much money these franchisees are making with a Wendy's? I know that I have, and I do, and fortunately, we've answered that question. So no more guessing. Before we go over the numbers, let's talk a little bit about how they got started. So in 1969, Dave Thomas, you guys are probably familiar with that term, with that name. They used to say it more in the commercials, and he used to be in the commercials, I believe. Might be dating myself a little bit here. But he opened the first Wendy's in Columbus, Ohio. He wanted something different from the cookie cutter burger chains popping up across America. I wonder what brands he was talking about, right? And his focus was simple: fresh, never frozen beef, cooked to order, in a restaurant that felt welcoming, almost like a family kitchen. So, part of why McDonald's, if you guys have ever watched The Founder, and part of why they took off was because they got the food out so quick. And part of that was because, it was pre-cooked. So cooked to order was, it's a different concept for sure. And I would think generally the food is going to be fresher, especially with never frozen beef. The difference. If you ever bought a frozen steak and thawed it out and then cooked it and grilled it, I don't know. For me, I can taste the difference. I was just having this conversation with someone. Can you taste the difference? I'm curious. By the way, if you guys have questions about this resale, any other questions, let me know. Drop your question and happy to answer them at the end. So, by the way, the name and the logo came from his daughter, Melinda Lou Wendy Thomas, whose child nickname became one of the most recognizable faces in fast food. And he believed, Dave did, that putting a family face on the brand would make it feel more personal, in a place where a meal wasn't just fast, it was cared for, right? So the chain quickly became an innovator. They introduced a salad bar in 1979. In 1989, they launched the very first fast food value menu, changing the way the industry priced meals. And of course, the Frosty became legendary with over 300 million sold every year. It remains one of the most successful desserts in the fast food in fast food history. Unlike McDonald's, where their McFlurry machine is always broken, right? I don't even go to McDonald's, but I know that's the thing with McDonald's. Their McFlurry machine being open. Does McDonald's still do McFlurries, by the way? I don't even know because I don't go there. Dave Thomas also became a big part of the story in the 1990s. He starred in more than 800 Wendy's commercials. See, I was correct. I remember that from the 90s, turning him into one of the most recognizable brand founders in history and helping cement Wendy's reputation as a brand with personality and heart. And today, Wendy's operates over 56. They don't operate. They have over 5,600 franchise locations in the U.S. and they plan to add 1,000 more by 2028. So they're growing. And while most people picture suburban drive-thrus, the highest performing Wendy's are actually in urban markets where average sales outpace other locations. Very interesting. All right, let's talk some numbers here. 5,325 franchise restaurants plus 370 company owned. The total investment ranges from $2 million to $3.7 million. A royalty fee of 4 to 6% of gross sales, a 4% advertising fee. You need to have $500,000 minimum cash contribution to invest, and then you can finance the remaining amount, assuming that you can get a loan for it. And your minimum net worth needs to be $1 million. I would just say if you are going to put 500 in and then get a loan for 1.5 to $3 million, you probably should have a net worth of more than $1 million, but that's just me. Let's talk about their numbers. So this is their sales from their item 19 and their 2025 franchise disclosure document for the 2024 numbers. And so their company restaurants perform higher than their franchise restaurants. So let's hit this. Let me hit this with the highlighter. So you got 2.3 million is the average annual sales for the company restaurants, 2.1 million for franchise restaurants. Why do you guys think that the company restaurants outperform the franchise restaurants by $200,000 a year? I'm curious. Let me know what your thoughts are. Here's what's interesting though. Company restaurants, the range, lowest performing location does 1.1 million. The highest performing location does 4.8 million, as opposed to franchise restaurants. The highest performing location does 8.4 million. But the lowest location, $345,000. That is a huge disparity there. Huge disparity, and that is not the Amazon logo. I'm curious, why do you guys think that the average is so different, but the top performing franchise restaurant obliterates the top performing corporate location, but the minimum performing franchise location does horribly compared to the worst performing corporate owned location? Very interesting. So that's it on Wendy's, ladies and gentlemen. You may be thinking, hey, I don't have $2 to $3 million to invest in a franchise, but I'd love to know what are some options that are more cost effective and that are available in your specific area and market. Well, if that's the case, you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. You'll be able to set up a free meeting with our team, and we'll be able to learn more about what your criteria is for a franchise, and based on your skills, your background, your financial situation, I'll be able to check and see what brands are available that meet your desired criteria. Pretty cool. Last but not least, our most recent episode of the Zero to Profitable Franchise podcast, we talk about brick and mortar versus service-based franchises. So you can go watch that on YouTube on our Franchise Empire YouTube channel. You can see that right. This is actually Mark and Chris on our team who produced this video. Chris, who have both been franchise owners. Chris created a franchise brand. Mark owned 13 Five Guys franchises. So these guys can speak from experience. So go check that out on the Franchise Empire YouTube channel. You can also listen to it on any of these podcast platforms, all these different podcast platforms. You can listen to it there if you'd like. Just type in Zero to Profitable Franchise Podcast. And then we did a breakdown on Culver's versus Chick-fil-A, which is the better franchise investment. You can also find that on the Franchise Empire YouTube channel only, as well as listen to it on any of the popular podcast platforms. With that said, that's it. I don't see any questions. We're going to rock and roll for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And we will see you again at our regularly scheduled time next Monday. Have a fantastic day. Take care.